Hi, folks. With Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the H1B, that's the skilled worker visa in the United States, and the debate and discussion around that has sort of gone nuclear. And needless to say, there's all sorts of misinformation and misunderstanding and misinterpretation and so on that's going on. Now, I've been at the forefront of the Australian equivalent and to some extent, a lesser extent, involved in the skilled migration visas in Britain and the United States. So I've got some comprehension of the issues here. So I wanted to talk about it sort of more widely and maybe broaden out the understanding or the lack of it that goes into this. Now, I think the skilled worker visa applies to somewhere, depending on how you classify it. And there's a lot of stuff coming in through the back door, people being brought in as students that are really, coming is really a de facto H1B visa thing to the United States. And remember, it's the third world wants to come to the first world. So why are you going to find the top talent in the world, the top talent on the planet is going to come from third world basket case countries is in itself an insane consideration. That level of talent, assuming that only the best of the best of the best, then it's pretty much all going to come from first world countries. Will you get the odd one or two outside of that? Well, sure. But really hardly any. So now the claim is that Elon Musk, if I understood him correctly, is that there just isn't the talent in the United States. It just isn't there. We can't hire anybody. Look at all the unfilled jobs that are going in IT at the moment, all across the Western world, by the way. Let's see, look at that. We just have to bring in people from third world countries. That's the only way. So we're going to go to the poorest countries in the world, where you walk over dead bodies in the street, and that's where we're going to find the top talent. I mean, just to even entertain that sort of thought is in itself absurd. But let's assume for the moment that there is a shortage of talent in the US and the first world. Let's say that is the case, and particularly with the most advanced stuff. Now, it's easy to say, well, a new computer program just came out yesterday. And there's a shortage of talent. There's nobody in the whole world. We have to go. No. It only came out yesterday. What are you talking about? And you see this sort of disconnect in IT, coding, programming adverts, job adverts in Australia and elsewhere. The new technology only came out yesterday, yet the advert that's running on the job board says you must have minimum 5 years experience in this technology that only came out yesterday. So it shows the ridiculous and absurd disconnect between aspiration, who you want to hire and where the skills going to come from and so on. So there's a very limited understanding of that. And now also the many companies scam and same in Australia, by the way, scam the skilled migration visa by putting white job applicants on a very, very high bar. You have to meet a very high bar. You've got to have 10 PhDs in computer programming, computer coding, whereas the brown guy from India doesn't need to really have any qualifications. The most minimal entry level qualifications will do for the guy from India. So they'll pay the guy from India shit money, and he'll live 20 people to a 2-bedroom apartment, and which is as good or better than they had in India. So then he comes to and he's here in the West, which is their big. Remember, just as a backdrop, just consider this. There is something in the order of 900 million people in India that are gagging to get the fuck out of India and come to the West. Now, they don't have the same understanding of the world and inputs and outputs and wealth creation as Westerners do. They've got a very, very limited understanding. They think if they can just get to where the money is, then everything's going to be fine. They don't understand that if they arrive en masse, which they're currently doing, certainly in Australia, if they arrive en masse, that there won't be any more wealth anyway. They'll destroy everything, all the wealth creation, all the merit, everything will be destroyed by those Indians that are arriving, and it'll be just another third world shithole when they've arrived in sufficient numbers. They can't comprehend that. They just see the West as some. And by the way, Indians who come here, who don't integrate, and they're just here for the money and what they can freeload off the white society. They concede that Australia is. This is Indian migrants coming to Australia. They concede that Australia is better run, it's cleaner, it's far more efficient. The public services work well. The building standards are better. Everything is better. But Australia is spiritually and morally inferior, and all a bunch of racist Nazis as well. So what if it's that bad? Why do you want to stay here? Oh, because it's better, it's more efficient. The better job, it's just less corruption. So how can Australia be morally inferior to India, but at the same time, India, your own admission, is terribly corrupt, and Australia is not? How do you square that away? Nazi. So the Indians want to come to the West because it's much better, but at the same time, their chip on shoulder won't allow them to accept that. So they have to say that, in fact, the West is, again, morally and spiritually inferior. And the idea of genetically mixing with white people is considered to be, most Indian families would be aghast at the thought of that. So they want to maintain genetic purity at all costs, which means they will never integrate. So, but coming back to this idea of the work visa, so that many Australian companies advertise jobs, because the part of the deal with bringing someone, a skilled worker, in, is you have to say, well, we can't find anybody. There just isn't anybody in the whole of Australia to do this job. So what they do is they run an advert for quadruple PhDs. This only applies to white people, of course. Quadruple PhDs, and pay them the sort of salary that a cleaner would get paid. And then they go to the government bleating, we just couldn't find anybody. There's nobody with the skills we need. Our business can't grow, and the Armageddon if we. So, well, where are you going to find these skills? Surely you'll be in another first world advanced technical economy. No. We're going to find it from the Congo. We're going to find it from rural Bangladesh. We're going to now, for some reason, there's no pushback on this. What they should be saying is that's bullshit. Let me have a look at your advert. What are you doing? And they'd see the scam unfolding. And this is very much also affirmative action quotas, DEI quotas. We don't have enough. Our programming section is mainly white people. We have to bring in some more brown folks from India just for affirmative action quota numbering. So there's all sorts of other ideological scams going on in the background there. So the people that are being brought out to Australia, or the West generally, supposedly to fill these highly skilled jobs, which there's no one in the West to do, then they're not skilled themselves. Now, again, as I've mentioned many times, I've been working with or been heavied into hiring these Indian coders and programmers that have these PhDs and double PhDs, and they're very, as in philosophically, very sophisticated, urbane people, and they're the Brahmins, and they're the apex of Indian social society, and they come along, but they're, to them, degrees and qualifications are social entitlements. That doesn't mean that you actually studied and worked hard to earn the degree. You're going to get the degree because you come from a rich, influential, well-connected family. And any lecturer that doesn't give you the degree or doesn't pass you on, even if you haven't handed the work in, they still give you passes. Any lecturer that doesn't give you those passes will soon find themselves as an ex-lecturer. And where there are 3,000 plus applicants for every job, then that lecturer doesn't want to lose their job. So they will give out the degrees to their Brahmin, social masters. So when these people arrive, then in Australia with all these glittering, glowing qualifications, but in fact they acquired them corruptly. They hadn't acquired them through ass-busting hard work or study or hitting the books or knowing what they were talking about. Far from it. So when these people had to sit down and write a line of code, they couldn't even write one line of code. And they were outraged that they were being held to a standard of having to do work and having to know what they were doing. And they explained it to me. Don't you understand, Billy Bob? My degree represents my social status. It doesn't mean that I know anything about it. The idea that you would misunderstand the degree as meaning that I was expert in this field or know about it, it indicates what plebeian little troglodyte you are, you must understand my degree is an expression of my social status, you idiot. And this is what I had to deal with, with dealing, having hired and working with these Indians, a tiny fraction of them. You get the odd Sikh maybe that understands that they have to work for a living, but that's it. And they still are very Indian in their obfuscation and responsibility avoidance and their deceit and treachery and so on. But where will the skilled people come from? They'll come from other first world countries. A tiny fraction may come from India and so on. But you have to pay first world wages to first world advanced technology, workers, whereas in India you can pay them a lot less. So I guess a number of things need to be done. Firstly is, and I got this from the Quartering, it's something I thought about a number of times myself, but given that Jeremy's put it out today, he's saying, well, or suggested, he's suggested the possibility of thinking along these lines, that you can place tariffs on imported goods, physical goods. Why not place tariffs on imported skills? Now, if the skills of these Indians and third world people are so great, if they're so skilled that they're more skilled than any single white person in the United States, if they're that skilled, then they should be paid premium level wages, premium level, if they're that skilled. Now, whether it's, they're skilled in AI or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if they're so skilled that no one in America could do that job, you've got to go to India or some third world, shithole where the average income is $1,500 a head or something. You got to go to that. That is the only place you're going to get it. In basket case corrupt countries, you're going to find the best talent in the world. You're right. But if it's that good, again, that no one in America can do, you can only get it from this third world shithole. If they're that skilled, these people, then why not pay tariffs on them? Well, why not say, well, 200 or 300, 400%, 500% tariff, whatever. So if you want to hire this guy, you've got to pay him a premium salary or the equivalent expense of it. If he's that good, he's the only guy in the world that can do this job, then he must command a huge income and should command a huge income. But the reality is, of course, he's not. The people you source from third world, they're not the best in the world, never will be. I mean, again, the odd one maybe, sure, but the idea that you can have more than 2 or 3 or 4 per year coming in to do that so-called high-tech work, then that would be the limit. The idea that it would be measured in the thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands is beyond ridiculous. Now, the other thing that could be done is, let's suppose what Elon Musk is claiming is true, and I covered this in the video I did yesterday. It goes for about 30 minutes, but I recommend you listen to it. The claim is that America is going to need hundreds of thousands of skilled engineers, in IT and so on, rocket science, whatever, hundreds of thousands of skilled engineers, and they just aren't around. Why doesn't Elon Musk? He's rich enough to do this. Why doesn't Elon Musk say, right, today I am starting a super high tech college in the United States? I'd put it in Texas or Florida or somewhere. I'm starting a high tech college, and this college is there to educate the next generation of the best and the brightest in things like AI and rockets to fucking Mars and all that sort of stuff. I'm starting a college that I will have the very best professors and experts in the field working there, and they'll be paid accordingly, and there will be a rigorous merit only examination of students America-wide or even worldwide, who cares? And bring them, but absolutely rigorous, and not affirmative action, but absolutely rigorous and meritorious, and then have the best and brightest being trained in that university. Should be Americans first, American citizens first. I mean, it's in America, for goodness sake. So, and do that. Now, within 3 to 4 years, less, I would say, in 3 to 4 years, that problem of the alleged shortage, which I don't believe, I think it's being ginned up to ridiculous levels. Let's even assume it's true. Then that shortage would be more than remedied by Elon Musk starting a super intensive college for the brightest kids, brightest students, to turn them into the rocket scientists of tomorrow. Start that today. If the situation is bad as you say, I don't believe it is, by the way, but if the situation is bad as Elon Musk says, then do that. Take decisive action right now to remedy the problem. Otherwise, all this claim that we can only get the best and the brightest from India or Pakistan, that's bullshit, and should be dismissed as such. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.